My name is Jake. I'm back here with number 100 in my 102 album countdown list, and it is none other than Rush's 8th studio album, Moving Pictures. Now, I know most people would say that 2112 is their magnum opus, and believe me, I think that album is just as much of a masterpiece as people say it is, if not more so. However, this was the album that sold me on Rush when I was a little afraid to get my toes wet with that band. It was definitely their more, radio friendly, most people would call it. I think it's just their most melodic album. It definitely made me get past Geddy Lee's vocals, which was originally my, I can't stand his voice, but, this album made me appreciate this band far more than I could have ever possibly imagined, and I am so grateful for it. Now, on the off chance that you're unfamiliar with Rush, they are a Canadian rock band formed in 1968, and this particular lineup consists of Geddy Lee on bass and lead vocals, Alex Lifeson on guitar, and the professor himself, the late, great Neil Peart, on drums. This album was released February 12th, 1981, and it was originally not supposed to be released until a little later. They were originally going to release a live album first, which I can only assume was Exit Stage Left, which was released that same year. And they decided to push it back until after because they had such great ideas coming up, in the sound check. And to be fair, if I was, hearing these songs for the first time, and just a sound check, I would be like, you guys gotta record this. I mean, come on. I think, from what I've heard, there wasn't very much protest to that either. Neil Peart, I believe, was very adamant on them doing that. And, after hearing the songs, I think pretty much everyone else agreed, as any sane person would. And I think most people would agree that the songs on this album that are on Exit Stage Left, it benefited the album quite a bit. And now, onto the songs. Track 1, Tom Sawyer. This is how you start an album. Okay? Plain and simple. You already know, this is one of Rush's quintessential songs, and the original lyrics were actually written by Pye Dubois, who was the lyricist for Max Webster. Now, pretty much all of you know how much of an insanely gifted drummer Neil Peart was. Most of you know, not sure if all of you know, how much of an insanely great lyricist he was. I think he was one of the great lyricists in rock. That's just my opinion, though, and I'll tell you why. The original lyrics just basically told the story of a modern-day rebel a la Tom Sawyer, and Neil Peart decided to change it up a little bit. I quote, "I added the themes of reconciling the boy and man in myself, and the difference between what people are and what others perceive them to be. Namely me, I guess." I think him adding those themes, it's what helped me appreciate and understand the song on a much deeper level. Also, I feel like this is probably Neil Peart's best drum performance on a studio recorded song. There's definitely other favorites. I mean, could pick one right out of a hat, but I think this is the one that most people can agree is just even if there's other ones they like better, this is the one that most people can agree is the best. Most of you also know that one of Rush's key elements is their time signatures, and the ones in this song, most of you, if you've heard it, know that they are just constantly changing. They're all over the place, but they weave together seamlessly. I don't know who can do that better than Rush, to tell you the truth. Track 2, Red Barchetta. And yes, I believe that's how you actually say it. Geddy Lee actually mispronounced it on the track, if I'm not mistaken. So I can only ever assume that Geddy Lee already knows this by now, but to any Rush fan that's been saying Barchetta, I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Now, the inspiration for this one was a short story by Richard Foster called A Nice Morning Drive. And the song itself is basically about a dystopian car chase. I'm having trouble saying what's not to like here. And it definitely helps that the lyrical content involves, cars to a degree, because this would be such a great driving song, just want to just blast on the stereo and just go for a cruise. It'll just make you feel like the coolest. The band sounds so tight here. I cannot, for the life of me, believe that this is only 3 guys. I mean, I know they probably recorded the synthesizer parts, separately in the studio, but I mean, just their raw power alone, especially in their live performances, are so deeply impactful, I think. And I love Lifeson's tone, mainly in the intro, and I believe the first verse, and Geddy's bass tone blending in with that. Oh my gosh. And dude, the breakdown and solo around the middle endish here, so raw. This is one of Rush's best songs, for sure. Don't even debate me on this. Track 3, YYZ. This is an instrumental song named after the band's local airport, and this, I think, shows off the band's talent the best out of any song on the album. And believe me, that is saying a lot. I mean, Alex is definitely at the forefront here, I would say. I mean, his riff is at the beginning is so powerful, and then he just gets better and better. But at the same time, Geddy Lee is just going crazy on the bass, and Neil Peart is just... You get my drift. Also, most of you probably know that little, drum break that Neil does. It's extended to just a full-on solo during the live performances. Just check out the one on Exit Stage Left, please. If you want a showcase of how great this band is from an instrumental standpoint, I mean, this is the song on the album, and that album, frankly, to go to, for sure. Track 4, Limelight. This is absolutely another essential Rush track. I mean, down to the... Everyone's heard that. Everyone gets a kick out of it every time. This is one that doesn't get old for me. I'm sorry. Neil Peart wrote this one about sort of his disdain for Rush's fame and the crazy side of that whole fandom. The ones that are like, oh my gosh, Neil, yeah. The ones that wanted like a little piece of him, almost. The ones that just threw his privacy right in the trash. Neil's definitely, he was a very private man, and he definitely struggled, I think. I mean, Geddy even said that he struggled the most with Rush's sort of popularity at times. Actually, I'll tell you this. If any of you have seen the documentary Beyond the Lighted Stage, it is one of the best rock documentaries you'll ever see. That has a sequence, I wouldn't call it a sequence, but just a real part sort of where it really tells that side of Neil from his point of view, and you can definitely see where he's coming from in that regard. Also, fun fact, I believe most of you have probably read this, but Alex Lifeson, I believe, said that this is his favorite solo to play live. And I can absolutely see why. It is so passionate and heartfelt. Alex Lifeson is a whiz, man. I don't know how he does it, to tell you the truth. He's unreal. Track 5, The Camera Eye. This is a pretty interesting song. It attempts to capture the sort of essence of New York in one verse and London in the other. 2 very big cities, 2 very different cities. This song, I think, balances them pretty well. Alex Lifeson coming in clutch once again with that gnarly tone, saving me from that crappy synth intro. I'm kidding. It's not crappy, but it's not my favorite part of the song either. And it works great once the rest of the band kicks in. I really like this song. The only thing for me really is for an 11-minute song, let me rephrase that. For an 11-minute Rush song, it's a little repetitive, but I still really do enjoy the song, even if it's my least favorite on the album. Track 6, Witch Hunt. This is another one of Rush's more melodic songs, and it is one of my favorites partially for that reason. The guitar and wind chimes briefly in the intro, that is like the musical combination that I didn't know I needed. It works more perfectly than you would initially think. And when the drums kick in, chills. That's all. Also, interesting yet depressing thing to take note of, this song was recorded the night that John Lennon was assassinated. Geddy Lee even remembered, quote, "I remember constantly going back and forth from working to the TV to try to get some news." I mean, I am shocked that he even went back to work, because I would just be numb and not wanting to do anything. So, I mean, whether the Beatles were big influences on Rush or not, it was still a massive tragedy to the music world, and props to them for even having the strength to work through it, honestly. Track 7, and final track, Vital Signs. This was the song that sold me on Rush and this album. It is hands down my favorite. It's probably the most melodic, I would say, or at least one of them. And I remember hearing it on Pandora, actually, and being like, oh, I've been kind of liking what I've heard from Rush. I'll listen to this. And I did not look back. This song changed my whole perspective on this band. And really so did this album, as I said earlier. The bass and the drums in this song are definitely the kind that make you go when you listen to it. Like you just smelled something funky, and it's so good. Geddy Lee's bass playing on this song and on this album. I've gotten over Geddy Lee's vocals. I'm pretty much to the point where I actually really kind of like him a lot. I have not gotten over how insanely, unbelievably brilliant he is as a bass player. I know that's such a basic, would you just listen to Rush for the first time or something? No. He's that good. That's all I'm saying. I will say that until the day I die. Geddy Lee is one of the greatest people to ever pick up a bass guitar. Plain and simple. This is such a great way to end the album too. The ending of the song, it just gets louder and it feels like the world's ending. It's so awesome. Please, if nothing else, just listen to this song. That's it. Overall, this is definitely one of the most essential rock albums, or at least progressive rock albums of all time. It is like that for perfect reason. It encapsulates Rush, in my opinion, at their peak. They were on the top of their game, each and every member, during this time. As much as I love their earlier, really complex, proggy stuff, this is what hits for me, personally. And I would recommend anyone who is a fan of guitar music, any guitar music, to listen to this album if you haven't already. I know it's a popular album. There's not much I can really say about it that hasn't already been touched on. But just please, if for some reason you haven't listened to this, take a listen for yourself. Your mind, I think, will just expand in so many ways. It's a perfect album. Thank you guys so much for watching again. I appreciate it more than you will ever know. If you want me to review or talk about anything music or movie related, please drop them below in the comments. My name is Jake. I'll be back.